practitioner here at our center. He's also our board president. And he's a very talented man. He has lots of initials, some of which I don't even know what they stand for. The MSC, I don't know what that one is. He has many, many, many credentials, and we're so thrilled that he is here with us. He speaks on the third Sunday of each month, booked years in advance. And he has a full page in the current issue of Science of Mind magazine with a prayer. And he's autographed his copy, as I said before. Please join me in welcoming Reverend Dr. Raymont.
So how is everyone today?
Great.
Happy New Year, since this is the first time that I'm seeing everyone in the new year. So how are you this new year?
Great.
Is there anyone who's not? Oh, now I like that. Because, now let me throw this out. Is Diane here? She's not back yet? Okay, I'm going to throw this out there because I watched Diane's video last week and there was a couple of y'all that wasn't in the happy space. So I'm glad that between her talk last week and this week, things have shifted. Now, we can talk about what we're here to talk about today, which specifically is, there's the thing itself. Right? Is there anyone in here who does not know what I'm referring to by the thing itself? Okay, the thing itself, God, energy, that which creates us, moves through us, around us, supports us, comes through us, and is showing up physically as us. The thing itself, right? Today I'm talking about how do you use the thing itself? We talk about God as this creative force, and if it's showing up in us, as us, through us, and throughout all of creation, then we should be able to do what God does, in essence. Now, God makes Mercury and Jupiter and etc. orbit, and we don't necessarily control that, right? That's not ours to do. So God, big G God, source, force, the energy, the thing itself, controls all of that. We don't beat our own hearts. Because I think if I had to do that, I'd probably, especially if I saw a cookie and I focused on the cookie, I would forget all of it and be like, boom, 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 cookie, boom. Oh, snap. I forgot. So, fortunately, there is something greater than lowercase I, lowercase m, me, that is in charge of all of that. But when we get to our own divinity being expressed through us, we have to know how to use that which is the creative power of our being. Important thing to note, whether you are using it consciously or not, you are using it nonetheless. See, that's the important thing, because we have an option. We have the option of using it for the highest and best good of all, or using it to be depressed, sad, miserable, and blah. Like, that's actually our choice. We can use the creative power to create weapons of mass destruction or tools of mass creation. That rests right here with us right now. Now, if anyone read the blurb on the front of the program today, one of the things that you see is a small passage. I'm not going through the whole thing, but a small passage that says, if you change the way you look at things, then the things you look at change. Right? Now, that in connection with another phrase where it says, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. See, by the power of our own minds, we get to determine how we live and move and have our beingness in creation. So, imagine for a moment that there's this thing called gravity. You don't have to imagine too much, because I'm sure a couple of us have once or twice dropped something. So gravity works whether you know about it or not. Whether you know what gravity is doesn't mean diddly squat. Because if you trip, if you let something go, gravity is going to do what gravity does because it's a law of nature. But when you know the law of gravity, you are able to use it for your benefit. You are able to use it to create planes that fly. You are able to use it to create rocket ships. And because you know how gravity works, that's how you know how to create the right amount of propulsion to make the rocket leave the Earth, fighting against gravity, using gravity to move. You are able to use the law of gravity in combination with the law of buoyancy to be able to swim and float and create ships. But we stop there. We don't use the law of creation to do the exact same kind of thing with our lives. We pretty much get to this one set point of, this is what life is, this is what life means. I got to make the donuts. And then we just go, rather than what Carmen just reminded me of, rather than thriving as the constant set point, we have moments of thriving, but a lot of time we're just surviving. We're just getting by, doing what we need to do. And that's not what we're here for. That's not the ultimate isness and allness of why we are here. Yesterday I was at that young woman's house teaching a workshop, and one of the things that I reminded folks was, if you, raise your hand if you have ever looked at something and thought, oh my goodness, that is beautiful. Whether it was a person, a painting, or you ever heard something was like, oh my goodness, that was amazing. Ever tasted something that was like, oh, that is delicious. Do you realize that the only reason you can identify beauty is because you are beauty? The only reason you can identify delicious is because that's what you are. The only reason you can identify any of the great stuff is because it's the very nature of yourself. It's God saying, ooh, don't I taste good? Ooh, don't I look good? Wow, don't I sound good? That's God living as you, recognizing itself. Because if you didn't know what that was, you didn't know what beauty was, you didn't know what delicious was, you didn't know what awesome is, you'd never be able to identify it. You'd be able to hear stuff, you'd be able to see a great painting, see a wonderful movie, taste something that's, well, it's chocolate, but it wouldn't be, where do I get more of this? So it's important for us to realize that sort of like a thermostat, we have this set point in consciousness that if something happens and we're like, elated, if this is our set point, it kicks in and says, whoa, 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 bring it back down. We're set at 60. And if you get to a point where you're like way down here, the same thing. It pulls it back up. This is where we're set. So we have moments of being here and being here. But what is our set point? You know, when you wake up, most of us, we're not really thinking about this first thing in the morning when we wake up. We think about what's aching, what's paining. Oh, it's late, I gotta go, and whatever. But we're not thinking about what do I feel when I first wake up. Because nothing happened to you at 4:59 to make you mad. But if you wake up angry, you wake up sad, what are you carrying from the night before, the day before, the week before, that made Monday morning, 5 a.m., your set point was, why? Or, why? When you get to create, how great of a day, a life, an existence you're going to have. We get to determine. Because when we use the thing itself, simply by shifting our paradigms of thought, changing the way we look at things. Suppose for a moment we were to take the word hate out of the vocabulary. It doesn't exist, right? How would you talk about such things? If we took ugly out of the vocabulary, Nobody's personality is ugly. Nobody's shoes are ugly. Nobody's hairstyle is ugly. Nothing is ugly anymore. What do we talk about? See, we get to determine what vocabulary stays in this thing called consciousness in our mind. We get to determine and choose actively which words come out of our mouths. Are the words that we're speaking being a blessing to not just us, but if we understand that the words we speak, because right now there's no deaf people in here. So if I were to ask everyone in here to close your eyes, you'd still hear my voice. Why? Because there's something in here that vibrates, that causes the very air to vibrate, which then reaches your eardrum and causes it to vibrate. Sound is energy. And if the words that I speak can change a mood, I can pay someone a compliment. Thank you. Or I can tell someone and call an insult, and they respond with, huh, or what? Anger or sadness or something. Then clearly what I speak has power. So when I'm speaking, whatever these words are, where are they coming from? Are they coming from a consciousness of anger and resentment and pain? Or are they coming from a place, as Suzanne spoke about, are they coming from a place of truth? And see, one of the important things to understand is we don't have to know everything there is to know about using the thing itself. Right? You don't really have to know everything. But if you know a smidge, it makes a world of difference. See, understand that, many of you have heard this before, understand that growing up in an abusive environment damages the body. It damages the mind. And if horrendous enough and long-lasting enough, can damage the spirit of a person to the point where the person is just, I'm done and I'm ready to die. It can get that bad. And it got that bad for me several times. And for some reason, there was always a moment of, not today. You got something else to do. And then something would change my mind. Something else would catch my attention. And a shift would happen. And then I would find a reason to live again. Every single day, every single one of us gets to make that creative shift, that creative choice, that opportunity to grow, evolve, and expand. We are not this body alone. We are not our age, our gender, sexual orientation, political affiliation, the name that we were given or the name that we have chosen, our occupation. We are none of that in essence. Because if you take all of that away, are you not still love? Are you not still creation? Are you not still magnificence and beauty and joy? Showing up with the name that you have. Working the occupation you work. Being affiliated with the political branch that you are. But behind all of those names and labels, the thing itself stands, knowing the truth of itself, through you, for you. But the choice is, will you let it know and stand in the truth as you? Because that's what we choose. It already knows. But do we know what it knows? So, there's this thing called inspiration. Anyone in here ever been inspired? Felt inspiration to do something? So inspiration hits you, and it hits you and says, start a company, write a poem, write a song, start write a book. Inspiration hits you. Now, you have the moment of choosing. Do I do it? Do I start the company? Do I write the book? Do I compose the song? Do I do what inspiration is calling me to do? Now, in order for that book to be written, that poem to manifest, the song to be sung, in order for any of that to happen, what needs to be there? And that is an actual question I'm asking of you in this present moment. Because I know sometimes people don't know. Is Ray really asking me this question? I don't know right now. Inspiration needs belief. You. It needs you. Yes, it needs the belief, but the belief is given by you. Inspiration needs you to do it. Inspiration is nothing but another name for God. God needs you. It's like that old poster way back when of Uncle Sam. This image, this idea that creation needs you to create more, to birth more, spilling water. Creation needs you to do it. But see, what we do is we doubt. We let skepticism pop in. We let all of these things from culture and society and stuff tell us, but you're too old. But you have that pain in your back and your neck and your whatever. But you don't have the education. You don't have the this. You don't have the that. You don't know, no, can't. And we come up with all these reasons why something is impossible. And I remember this little passage. You can tell me what it's from when you think when I get to the end. Don't cut me off. The Queen said, "I'm just 101, 5 months and a day." "I can't believe that," said Alice. "Can't you?" The Queen said in a pitying tone. "Try again. Draw a long deep breath and shut your eyes." Alice laughed. "There's no use in trying," she said. "One can't believe in impossible things." "I dare say you haven't had much practice," said the Queen. "When I was your age, I always did it for half an hour a day. Why, sometimes I believed as many as six impossible things before breakfast." Do we dare to dream the impossible dream? Do we dare to not let impossible, in whatever shape or form it shows up, do we dare to challenge it? Dare to stare it in the face and say, "You don't know me. You're not me. I have the ability in my consciousness, in my words and in my actions, to make that mountain move from there to there." That no matter what the obstacle is. You know, one of the things we have in this teaching is that it is not our job, our call, our responsibility, or anything to heal, or technically to change something. What is our job? What is our call? What is our responsibility? To reveal the truth that is already there. That's all it is. To reveal the truth that is already there. So anytime we pop up and we say, "I'm sick." No, you're not. Your body is experiencing something that we identify as sickness, but that which is you cannot be sick. That which is you, the essence of all that you are, the thing itself, cannot be too old or too young. It can't be. That's like saying, "Oh, well, my imagination is just too wild, so I can't create this business. I can't write this book because, why would I write this book? It's about a little boy who's a wizard. No one's going to buy it. It's my imagination running away with me. Why do it? I've never had any experience singing, so why should I go ahead and..." Why? If we dared to take just one moment, that anytime something popped up, and we identified it, because see, there part of the thing is, we have to be able to identify it. And if we are in that hamster wheel of a thing, it's really difficult to take a moment and step off of it to even be aware of knowing that we were on it. You know, getting in that rope thing of being depressed. But when do you realize that you are, to realize that you can be undepressed? That you can now be inspired and let this fade away. So being able to identify it means we have to be mindful enough and aware enough of ourselves. We spend more time in the mirror than we do in our own consciousness. We spend more time washing our car and waxing our car than we do in taking care of our body temple and our mind and our consciousness. Why? Because it's easier. It's easier. I can say, Sheila, come outside with me for a second. I can wax the car, polish the car. She can look at it and say, that's it. You missed the spot. It's easy to look at it and identify it. It's easy to look in the mirror and notice that your hair, something's off a little bit. It's easy to go to the barber and have them snip and say, well, wait, what, dude, my fade is like, what? It's jacked. It's easy to identify that stuff. That's why we do it more than. Because when it comes down to it, we have to sit with ourselves to be able to identify when we're off course. We have to sit with ourselves to identify not only that I'm off course, but that I want to get back on course, and more importantly, that I can get back on course. So we have to take the invitation to say, am I willing to love myself enough to demand better? Do I love myself, and am I worthy enough in my very being to say, I know that I know that I know? Because if I've ever felt inspiration, then inspiration itself is flowing through every cell of my body. Beauty is flowing through every atom, every molecule and particle. Love is the truth of who and what we are. It binds the universe together. It's who and what we are. Are we willing to walk that walk? Are we willing to walk that walk, and when we find something that shows up that is in what we call opposition, because truthfully, nothing can stand in opposition of truth. Our human mind identifies it as opposition. But the moment we remove that and say, no, it can't stand in opposition, it automatically starts to weaken. But are we willing to stare at it and call it and talk the talk of truth and call it for what it is? You are an illusion. You are that little man standing behind the curtain, pulling levers and making fire and stuff jump out over here to convince us that you are something that you are not. You are not the wizard. You have no power here. You don't determine who I love, how I love, where I love, when I love. You don't determine the quality of my health. I've told you before that I've gone to the doctor many years ago when I had a tumor in this finger and when my ACL snapped like a rubber band. And the doctor told me I would never be able to make a fist with this hand again. And the doctor told me I would never be able to, that should not be possible. And I wasn't grounded in this teaching back then the way I am now. Now, I would have probably given him a sermon. Doctor, sit down for a second, let me tell you a little bit about the truth. You'd be amazed, let me tell you. All I did then was giggle and said, ha ha ha. Do you read comic books? You don't, but your kids do? There's a comic book, there's a character, Wolverine, read about it. That's all I said. Because in my mind, something automatically told me, dude, you went to school to study this, but you didn't go to school to study this. So you don't know me. And you don't heal diddly squat. You don't heal a broken bone. You put a cast on it so the body can do what the body does. All you do is help to facilitate. You're a facilitator, doctor. You're messing with me. What if we looked at everything in our lives with that kind of clarity, knowing that we're the ones that have the power, knowing that we're the ones that get to determine and choose the course of our lives. Like I've said before, life, this thing, chooses to give you a rowboat, a canoe, a ship, etc. We're the ones that get to choose when the oars go in the water, when to raise the sails, when to catch the wind, when to turn the engine on. And we're the ones that get to choose where this ship is going to go. We choose when to pull anchor or drop anchor. Life chooses what kind of anchor. Life chooses what kind of boat. Life might even choose which ocean or beach or lake to put your boat in. But you get to choose to get a trailer and hook your boat to it and drive to another lake, another ocean, somewhere else. We have that ability. Now, if I were to ask, if I were to say, so there's a manuscript that can greatly enlighten your life and give you direction. Would you read it?
Yeah.
If I said that it was this thick, would you read it? If I said it was this thick and written in a language that you don't currently know, what would you do? Get a translator, study, learn the language. Because you're that determined to know what's in it. Now, people have asked me, referencing the Science of Mind textbook, because I've heard people say, well, it has all the answers. No, it doesn't. There is no book that has all the answers. Now, one thing, let me inform you, because I was recently reminded of this. This much of the book is the teaching. Literally. This is the basic of the teaching. What the thing itself is, how it works, and what to do with it. That's it. The rest of this is added information on how to do that. So what I want you to do is, imagine this is a cookbook. Would it be possible for me to put every recipe in the French pantheon of foods into this book? No. Or any other country, culture. I couldn't put it all in there. But we have books. We can go to the library and get a book on French cuisine, Jamaican cuisine. We can get cookbooks, but what the cookbook does is give you a nice, rounded introduction to the point where you can now say, I've seen enough of the similarities in the recipes that I can identify certain foods have certain ways of cooking, certain ingredients in the foods, certain spices that identify it as Argentinian, Japanese, Korean. And the moment I know those basics, I can go take any other food and cook it based upon the rules of that specific culture, that specific way of cooking. So if I wanted to, I could go take Twinkies and cook them the way the French bake, feed them to somebody, and they say, oh, this is very good. Oh, this is delicious. What is this? And I say, it's Twinkies. And they're like, oh, you are lying to me? This is not what it could be. Because I mastered the ability to cook the way French people cook that I've even, Pepe Le Pew is confused now. Right? It's just the same thing. It's a cookbook, a series of recipes on how to master our lives. Every recipe isn't in there, but there's enough recipes in there that we get a nice grounded foundation to be able to say, whatever ingredients life brings to me, I am able to take them and grill them or fry them or bake them and season it to the point where I make it delicious. So the doctor tells me, Ray, I'm sorry, you have boop, thanks for calling. I don't have. My body might experience, but check this out. I'm going to take this, I'm going to grill it, I'm going to bake it, I'm going to put some ice cream with it, and it's going to be good. Because I get to choose that. And so do you. Let's treat. And so we breathe, knowing that in this breath, God is. And knowing that in this breath, all of creation flows in us, around us, and through us. And the truth that I know and speak right now, knowing that God is all there is, source is all there is, love is all there is. And knowing that love is all there is, I know right here, right now, love is moving through me. It is in my consciousness. And if it is in my consciousness, it must be in my words. And if it is in my consciousness and my words, then it must outpicture in deeds and actions. Right here, right now, in this breath, I choose to be God on earth, to be an emissary of love, an emissary of light. That's what I choose right now. And knowing that God is all there is, and knowing that it is right here present right now in this breath, right now present in this heartbeat, right now present in these words that are being spoken not by me, but by God itself. God speaking these words through itself, of itself, about itself. So the truth that I know, the truth that I speak, is that right now, health, well-being, joy, mastery of life is present for each and every person in this room, in this building, on this street, in this city, in this nation, on this planet, and every universe that is in creation. And knowing this truth, I know that each and every one of us has the ability to consciously choose, consciously access, consciously change the set point to one of bliss, one of passion, one of divine inspiration and imagination, to the degree that we cannot even explain it in words how beautiful, delicious, and magnificent it is. And knowing this truth, I am able to, without reservation, with complete and absolute